We're here in the Mall of America in Minnesota, where I have been before with Better in Our Backyard, and we're here at their very first Mining and Energy Expo. And I'm here with Jim Bougalis of
North American Iron.
And so we're hoping to have a real and honest conversation here today and talk about and educate a little bit on what North American Iron really is, talk about Jim's origins, how he has gotten where he is, what he's doing, what his passion is, what his vision is, and why that should matter to you as Americans, why that should matter to you as, the men and women in the trades, or if you're thinking of getting into the trades. These are the conversations that I believe lift the view, and that's what we want to do here today. So I appreciate you taking your time. You could be partying with everybody else, but you're sitting here with us. So
I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your origins, Jim, like where you come from. You started off when we were talking off air earlier that your dad picked you up from school when you were young in a backhoe.
That's right. Yes. Yes. I was born and raised in northern Minnesota, right in the middle of the Iron Range.
Okay.
Right? A little town called Hibbing, Minnesota. And as I said, my father started a civil construction company before I was born in the early 50s. And that was my upbringing, right? When by the time I was 10, 11 years old, I was working more than I was going to school. You'd wear through a few pairs of work boots a season, and that was life. And you're right. I used to get picked up. The pickup line was car after car, and then a rubber tire backhoe would pick me up, and I'd grab onto the handle, I'd ride it home, right? Or ride it to the job site, actually.
That's awesome.
But that was my upbringing, and that's kind of, that upbringing really was what led me into North American Iron, ultimately. A lot of people don't know that, number one, that over 95% of the iron ore in the United States is right here in Minnesota, right here in Minnesota's Iron Range. They don't know that the Allied forces of World War I and World War II, the majority of that steel came from Minnesota.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
What came of that was what we call waste stockpiles. What the general public calls waste stockpiles, what I call is a viable marketable product. We have billions of tons, more than 1 billion tons, sitting on top of the ground in Minnesota, which is the product of those years I talked about through the early 1900s, World War I, World War II, and still today, producing those piles. And me as a young civil contractor, right, over the years, that family business I told you about, I ended up buying it from my father in my 20s at a young age.
Okay.
And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've never really had a job. Right?
Yeah.
My customers or my bosses have always been customers or shareholders and so on.
So tell me, I want to interrupt you just for a second. You say you've been an entrepreneur your whole life. And specifically for Generation Z, that's a very popular word. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Can you tell me what that word means to you? When you say you've been an entrepreneur your whole life, what does that mean?
I'd say to the young people, it's a double-edged sword, right? Okay. You're your own boss. You can do whatever you want, but at the same time, you suffer every consequence, right? Yeah. The good consequences and the bad consequences, and there's no easy button. There's no oh shit I screwed up button, right? You have to pay for it all.
There is an oh shit I screwed up button, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. That's right. You can buy one. You can hit it as much as you want, but that's what entrepreneur means to me. Is
okay.
But again, it's super highs and it can be super lows, and you have to be able to manage both sides of it. And if you don't have the stomach for it, which what I found in my career is 99% of the people don't have a stomach for it.
Yeah.
Right? They'd much rather have a job, have a safe place. At the end of the day, lay their head down at night and sleep for the night.
I think I would too. I'm just too stupid to figure out how to get out.
Yeah. I don't even know what it would be like, to be honest with you. I've never experienced it yet.
Well, yeah, you were saying you were in your 20s and you took over the business. You bought it from your dad.
Yes.
So continue with your story there. Yeah.
So, through building that business, I built that business quite a bit. A lot of employees, a lot trials and tribulations and whatnot. And it's still in operation today, right? So
Okay.
it's operating. I'm not operating, but I still own the business and it's still functioning. But during that tenure, what I really want to get to is that I would, across the Iron Range. Again, I'm trying to explain this on the radio, but if you were to drive the Iron Range 40 years ago, and you'd go down the highway and you'd see these piles. These piles are, they would cover 3 city blocks.
Yeah.
Make buildings disappear. They're 300 feet high. They're 20 acres apiece.
Holy
15
crap.
million tons, 10 million tons. So if you would have drove down the highway in the Iron Range 40 years ago, it looked like you were driving on Mars. These huge red piles, right?
Wow.
Today they're covered in trees and grass, and they're all getting grown over, and they're disappearing. Right?
And these are the piles that you were calling what the rest of the world would call waste piles.
Right.
Okay.
Waste stockpiles.
From World War II, from those
World War
events.
I, World War II, early 1900s.
Wow.
From the mining started right around the 1890s in Minnesota, and from 1890 till today, it's still being produced. So they take these ores that are there's different types of ores. I won't get into the technicalities of it, but the different grades, and they get put in these piles methodically. Right? So these piles are separated by iron content, by impurities, and so on. And so they're all for the most part homogeneous piles, and they're categorized in a way that strategically categorized, if you will.
Yeah.
And anyway, over the years, I was digging into these piles, and I was using these piles. I was leasing them from the state and others to build roads, to build building sites, and whatever as a heavy civil guy. And
now we're getting to what I think an entrepreneur is. 'Cause
Right.
You saw something.
No, I did, yes.
Yeah.
I saw these piles, and I started asking questions about what these piles were, and I started finding out what they were. And this was this is over 20 years ago now. This is a little bit getting into how hard and what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, come on.
But over 20 years ago, and I got into these, and I thought, wait a minute. So these piles have 40% iron in them, 50% iron, some of them, 30% iron. I said, that's more iron than what the mining companies are mining today. And so over the last 20 years, I'm shortening this up, but I would dig in these piles. I would categorize these piles. I'd itemize these piles. Identification and so on, and I'd record them, and built quite a logbook, if you will, right?
Yeah.
With me and my team and the team that I put together, and it led to 2017. Let's go back to 2017, the first Trump's first go around at the presidency, and he put the tariff amendments on iron or steel and aluminum, right? A lot of people didn't notice the tariff amendments back then, but his first go around, he put a tariff amendment on. Yep, 25% tariff amendment. So
He always goes big.
he does go big, yes. And me, knowing the mineral and knowing what I was doing, I kept a very close eye to that. And by 2020, I formed our company, and I did it solely for that reason. And I made a good bet there because since 2017, 2018, the U.S. steel industry has spent over $20 billion building new steel mills and steel foundries in this country. They've increased steel production by around 25 million tons. In fact, the last plant is still being built. It'll be finished next year, I believe.
Wow.
Or 2027. And all because of those tariff amendments. Now, while we were doing that, right, while I started the company in 2020, these steel mills started getting built in 2018. In 2022, Russia-Ukraine got in a conflict, and it just so happened that 60% of the pig iron that was getting imported in this country was coming from Russia-Ukraine. And that shut off like a faucet.
So for those who are listening, and I don't want you to lose your thought, but if you can, just take a moment. Pig iron, what does that mean? Is it squeal? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. So pig iron is a slang term, and there's a couple of stories on how it became pig iron, and it's not an acronym, right?
Okay.
It's just it's a slang word. It's basically
So it's just
what it is.
iron, basically.
It's just iron. It's 100% iron.
Okay.
Right? And iron is the main feedstock for steel. There's 100 different types of steel, maybe more.
Yeah.
There's one iron,
Yeah.
and that's it, right? and pig iron is the purest form of iron.
Really?
Any iron feedstock. So you hear about items like DRI, direct reduced iron, or DR, grade pellets, direct reduced pellets. Those have impurities in them. They have impurities 10, 15%, 20% impurities in them, silica and other items. Pig iron is pig iron. It's 100% iron. Technically, it's 96% iron with 4% carbon. The carbon's in there for the reason of burning in the furnace, right? So that's an engineered 4% that you put in there. But all in all, it's 100% iron. It's the purest form of iron anywhere in the U.S. steel industry, anywhere in the global steel industry.
And it's here in Minnesota.
It is. Iron ore is here in Minnesota.
Okay.
But pig iron itself there is no domestic pig iron in the United States.
Really?
There hasn't been in recent history. In the past 50 years, there's no company that is selling merchant pig iron, if you will, in
so
the
here
US.
we are back in, what did you say, 2022, I guess it was.
Yep.
Russia, Ukraine is where that was coming from.
It's coming from. 60% of the
That's a lot.
of the U.S. market in pig iron. So pig iron, we were importing about 6 million tons, and almost 4 million tons was coming from Russia, Ukraine, and that shut off like a faucet. So you can imagine our project and the tailwinds behind it when we're leading that 25 million ton increase in steel production, which about 20% of that needs some type of virgin iron, pig iron.
Yeah.
Right? So we're looking at 5 million ton increase in pig iron need in this country because of the climb, and we just lost 4 million. So it really boosted our project in 2022. And then come Trump's second go-around, promoting steel, right?
Yeah.
Promoting the second round of tariffs, saying that, what do we do if we get into war with one of these countries that's feeding our iron, that's feeding our steel? We import 40 to 50 million tons of iron and steel in this country every year.
I don't think we realize how huge of a national security issue that is.
Most people don't realize how.
I mean,
how
because
huge it is.
our jets, our Humvees, our tanks, all of these things, they're built with iron.
They're built. Let's expand on that a little bit. These cups, your phone, the table, the shirt on your back.
Come on. Yeah.
Everything and anything that you have that in your daily life is connected somehow or has it in it steel.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
And it's the basic resource. It's like oil and steel, realistically. And most people in this country don't even know where it comes from.
Wow.
Don't even know how it's made. Don't even know, it's the old adage, chocolate milk comes from a brown cow, right? It's kind of the same concept. And that's one of the things that we're doing at North American Iron too, is trying to educate people. We're really trying to get our name out there, and really trying to get our process out there, and the iron ore story. And hey, iron ore comes from the ground.
Yeah.
Iron ore gets manufactured into iron. Iron is used for steel, right? So steel you use in everything, every day, all the time. So we're trying to educate the public for the reason of, hey, you should know this anyway.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And to get people excited about the industry. So it's not the evil iron plant with with banging and molten iron and whatnot, but it's actually a technological advancement, a technological marvel.
Yeah.
That what we do, and it's filling a basic need. It's using our God-given resources.
Yeah.
Right? And it's providing jobs to well-paying jobs, right? And not a job where you have to go to 4-year college and go into student debt, loan debt for your whole life, but a 2-year technical college, a 1-year technical college, and you're in a job that's paying $100,000 to $150,000 a year.
Well, I think there's something else about that. I was reading statistics on different careers that people are happy in, and I think you can speak to this, and I can speak to this, and I've seen it, but you've been running a backhoe for years, digging in the dirt, digging in these things, and while money is great, the other thing, there's something about trades work and doing this type of work that is fulfilling and satisfying.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like people, you can be happy doing this type of work, and I think that's something that we miss out on understanding, because I think that there's been a cultural mistake, we'll call it, over the past 50, 60 years of saying, well, these people, these jobs, they don't have the same value. I want to pause real quick because we're already behind because you're saying tons of good things here.
Okay.
And it's really good and you're passionate about it. But what is a tool or a piece of gear that you cannot live without? Gear being your suit jacket, your watch, your whatever, or a tool. You can pick either one. I did warn you.
You did warn me. So it's I'm trying to go deep with this one. It's more so less about a tool. It's more so your mindset. Is what it is, and it's your, let's call it your discipline, consistency.
Yeah.
Those two things. If you can maintain those or manage those, you can do anything.
Boy, that's
absolutely anything.
Consistency is so powerful. I think people don't realize what that does in your life.
Very powerful. If you can do that, and I've toyed with that in my life, and the longer you can stick with it, the more successful you'll be. There's no question about it. There's a lot to be said about looking for that gold coin for 5 years, and then you quit, and it was a foot away from you, right? So that it's.
I 100% agree.
That's totally true. I truly believe in that, and at the same time, you got to enjoy what you're doing. You really got to be passionate about that coin you're looking for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? At the same time, and if you're not, you need to switch direction, go do something else. So that's the only tool that I see is let's call it those two tools: discipline and consistency.
Discipline and consistency. I think, and you use the phrase "don't quit." So I actually like poetry. I'll say it publicly. And one of my favorite poems is titled "Don't Quit," written by a name Edgar Guest, I think his name is, from back in the early 40s and 50s. And he wrote this poem, "Don't Quit." Yeah. And in the poem, they talk about how many people were so close to the Victor's Cup, and then they gave up, and they didn't get it. And I think that's something that's huge that you touch on, that whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working a job, whatever it is, that discipline and consistency, that leads to fulfillment and satisfaction. And if you can apply that to your life, you can do almost anything. There's really nothing that you can't do.
And it sets you apart. Say you're doing a job and you do 90% of the job, that's what most people do. If you do that extra 10%, you're a rock star.
For sure.
And that goes to anything. If you're changing oil, if you're whatever it may be, you apply that to everything, and it's going to be like the freight train left the station.
So you've been talking about entrepreneurship, you've been talking about pig iron, and you hinted at this in the beginning, that you were digging in these piles and you were seeing these piles. And so what is it that your company is doing right now? I want to hear about that. And I think people want to hear about that because I think it's rather innovative.
Yeah. So what we did, it's innovative, but at the same time, it's really not. So to really paint the picture of global iron ore reserves, right? Minnesota is only 1.5% of the globe, right? So in Australia, South Africa, South America, these dwarf the amount of iron ore that we have in Minnesota.
Wow.
1.5% only. Yet there's enough iron ore in Minnesota to feed the entire country for 500 years. And I'm being very conservative at that, right?
500 years is a long time.
500 years is a long time, right? So that kind of puts it in perspective of how much iron ore we have. So that's our process is proven on every aspect. From the time we pick up the ore to the time we deliver the pig iron. It's been in production since 1957. That's the newest portion of our project, right? And I'm talking equipment. I'm talking the engineers that built the equipment, or that designed the equipment, the contractors that put it in. Every aspect of it has been done over and over again. For instance, one of our flagship parts of our project is a hydrogen-based iron conversion process, right?
Yeah.
That's 80 locations all over the world. 25 locations since the mid-2000s has been built across the world. So my point being is that, we're new. We're the first ones in the country to do it. We're the first ones with this close a proximity to the ore to put our manufacturing plant. We're the first ones that are going to take that iron ore and put it into one plant and come out from iron ore right to pig iron. We're the first ones that are doing that and going to sequester our carbon into the ground, right, for almost a net zero carbon emission. So we are, I guess you could say, paving the way on that respect, but we're using essentially off-the-shelf items to do it, right? And that's why we're so successful, and that's why we've been so successful to this point with our project.
Yeah.
And where we're at with our project right now, we're in the permitting process. We started our permitting process in 2024. We'll be complete in 2026.
Come on.
Right now we're on schedule. Everything's moving along as planned, and yeah, we're excited. Once we get permitted, we'll be 3 years of construction. It's a very big plant. By 2029, it'll be full production, 2 million tons of pig iron a year, to go into like I said, a proposed demand of 13 million tons here in this country. Currently, we're importing 5 to 6 million tons a year of pig iron, 100% imported.
And you can change that.
We can change that. We're going to be the first and only domestic pig iron producer in the U.S.
So, Jim, I want to ask you a question here. What was your, if I can figure this out, there we go. What was your zero moment when you knew you needed to make this shift? You know what I mean? You were doing this heavy civil thing. You're working in this. You took it over from your father, and then you decided that you wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Like there had to be some. What was going on in your mind that made you go, all right, I'm going to go deeper?
I can tell you exactly where I was at the time. It was so I was doing this, as I told you. I was doing this. I was categorizing this and itemizing this, and I was in my business. I was finishing a road project, right? New road. We put sewer and water in the road and everything. And I'm standing on that road, and I'm thinking, oh, they have another road done. And I'm thinking to myself, I work 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. I come in on Sundays to recoup my thoughts and set up for the next week. And I'm thinking, I put all this effort in for everybody else. I put all this effort in, and I accomplished this road. Why doesn't this apply to anything, right? And the more I thought about it, if I'm going to put all this much time and effort in, why not do something and impact, I don't know if I can say this, but a shit ton of people, right?
Yeah.
A huge amount of people. Impact the
In case
country.
You didn't hear
at
that,
the
I said
end of
a
the day.
shit ton of
Yeah,
people.
I did say a shit ton. But, you get the idea. So that's what I remember the road. I remember standing there. I remember looking at it. I remember thinking to myself, I've got to switch. I've got to do this. Somebody's got to do it. Nobody's doing it. People are trying it. They're doing it for different reasons. It's not working. I can do it. And that's it. I can picture it right now.
That's one of the reasons that we call this podcast The Line, because we believe that we all come to a line where we need to say no more, and we step up to the line. Like when you come on this podcast, you're stepping up to the line.
Yeah.
And so I so appreciate hearing that, because I believe that that's something that more men and women out there need to hear. Like we need to know that it's like, hey, nobody is coming to save us. Nobody is coming to fix it.
You save yourself.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. There's nobody's going to care more about you than you. The more you do for others, the better off it is for you, right?
The reality is that's some of what you're doing.
It is, yeah.
Like, while I say nobody's going to save us, you're deciding to step up the line and make a difference, and it is not just about you.
Absolutely. If it was about me, I would have quit a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right. If it was about the dollar, I would have quit a long time ago.
Yeah.
Projects like this take years. They take massive amounts of time, massive amounts of Did you sleep last night? Well, maybe next week, right?
Yeah.
So it is a lot of work. There's a lot of time and effort that's got to be put into it. But at the end of the day, you look at the product. What are you building? It's no different than building that road, right? It's just a bigger project. And that's the way I'm wired. I'm wired, once the road's done, you're like, yeah, all right, I don't even want to drive on it. Let's go build the next one.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
It's kind of the same thing here. So
I think one of the things that I love about business is the power of team. Like, I love building unstoppable teams because I realized I can't do things alone. And quite honestly, when I work with people and we collaborate and we come together, we really can affect things. And it's like, it's interesting to hear that you come from building the road to being the guy that's working on supplying what we need to build the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are all these different people, and we don't realize how everything is interconnected and tied together. And that's what we need to step up and be about, is recognizing that we're all part of a team, and it's about a global success and an American success. And I don't think that American success, that it's wrong for us to look at that, because in the same way as in business, you're then able to positively impact the men and women that are in your company, the communities around you, and your state, your country, and your world. And that's really what it's truly about. That's why they call it better in our backyard, because if it's better in our backyard, then we can help someone else make it better in their backyard. It's not a selfish statement.
Yeah, I agree. And you say the people. You really, I'd like to touch on that a little bit. That it is the people. Yeah. I'm not a steel expert. Yeah. I'm not a mining expert. I'm not a carbon expert, right? A hydrogen expert. But I bring all the people together, and I put the whole team together, and I it's almost like an orchestration. Right?
Yeah.
You get everyone together, and you put them all in one room. You get the same idea. You move forward. It's a lot of grinding, a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, you're helping people.
Yeah.
Really. And what's the ultimate way to help people in this country?
Come on.
You get to oil and steel. That's the two basic things that everybody really needs. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. That if we took steel away today, life would end as we know it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You took oil away today, life would end as we know it.
Well, I think the other thing that people don't realize is the men and women who are doing this work, like yourself, really truly care about our backyard. And our backyard isn't just America, it's the globe. And the reality is, if we can be successful at doing it here, then we can become the global leader in that and really encourage other people, like, well, you have to do it this way or you won't be able to do it.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
And we need to do that. We need to step up to the line in taking care of our environment and doing those things in that way. And I think that there has been a huge misunderstanding by people of thinking that the men and women that are doing what you're doing don't actually care about the environment, don't actually care. And it's 100% wrong.
100% wrong.
Yeah, 100% wrong.
Most of the time, efficiency goes hand in hand with saving the environment.
Absolutely.
Most of the time. That's another misconception most people have, is that, for instance, take our project. Our project was started in 1957. It just so happens to be 96% less emissions than blast furnace operations, right?
Come on.
So in
96%.
96%. So picture the best way to explain it is a blast furnace operation, a foreign blast furnace operation in South America, say, or in Russia, Ukraine, is a witch's brew pot.
Yeah.
You pour coal on one side and iron ore on the other, and it cooks into molten iron, right? You take our process in contrast, it's like a microwave. It's an enclosed domicile or whatever, right?
Yeah.
An enclosed cubicle, and you use heat to the point of not combustion, right? Just heat and hydrogen. And you use that as the reductant, and that's what uses, essentially you're removing the oxygen from the iron ore, essentially on a higher level.
Wow.
But that's what you're doing. So you look at a microwave and look at a pot, right? And that's really the difference. And that's why, and I'm really simplifying now. But,
That's good, because I'm really simple.
right,
So I need that.
But that gives you the idea why it's so efficient. And then on top of that, we're able to take the carbon that otherwise is just CO2 being blasted into the air. It's high grade, it's food grade CO2, but it's being blasted into the air in all these locations all over the globe. Where the location we chose in North Dakota, we're able to sequester it right back into the ground.
Wow.
So it's really a great project at the end of the day. But
So we've gone really long because I think you and I are both passionate about this. Can you give me just a few more minutes for me to ask you one more question?
all right.
I don't know if he remembers what the question is.
Yeah, well, we'll find out.
What's a mistake that you've made that you're willing to share with our listeners here, that you've learned from, that you're willing to just be real with them about that you've learned from, that they might be able to learn from?
follow your gut. That's a big one, really big one. I've done that. That's some of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life is not following my gut. So, you get that feeling like something's not right and you do it anyway. It 100% of the time comes back and it gets you. And I think I'm to the point now where I've learned that. And if I have a gut feeling about something, I turn no matter what is happening. I turn and I go the other direction.
So I'm going to push you a little bit and ask you, can you share with us, and you don't need to share details, but a story or a time that happened to you where you didn't follow your gut and it cost you? See, he doesn't know what this podcast is, and he doesn't know that I ask direct questions.
Yes, you do. Yes, yes. Let's just say you go into something inexperienced, right? And you're learning as you go, and you get that gut feeling, but you're learning, right? And you think to yourself, you second guess yourself, and you say, you know what, I'm not that good at this, and I'm not quite sure, I'm going to go ahead with it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. That's really the message I'm trying to give, and that's the message that the kid should take, is that no matter what the outside circumstances is, if it's you and only you, right?
Come on.
Doesn't matter about your surroundings. If you get that gut feeling, I don't care if it's offensive to others or whatever it is.
Come on.
You turn around and you go the direction you feel you have to go, and that has never led me wrong. And matter of fact, it's led me wrong when I don't follow that.
Yeah.
Right? So,
I would agree with that statement, and even go a little bit farther and to be like, sometimes we always struggle, and this is very much a blue-collar trade struggle, where, and I think it's because that there has been an epidemic of making us feel this way, that, I'm not qualified to do that. I'm not qualified to step up and make that difference. I see a need, but I'm not qualified to do that. And the reality is, there's nobody else stepping up to do it. And so if your gut is one that you need to do that, qualification is that you're willing to do it. Period.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it's about. And so I think that's something that, when we researched you and when we looked at what you're doing, it's like, you're like, well, someone needs to do this. This makes sense. And it's really interesting to me how often throughout history that's the case, where someone's like, wait a minute, why are we doing it this way?
Yeah.
Why are we doing it this way? We need to change that and do this.
And when you start it, you've got to give it that 100%. You've got to give it that discipline, that consistency, and you've got to stick with it. It's got to be everything and anything. Doesn't matter. This thing's getting done one way or another, right? That road's going to get built. That project's going to be done, right?
Yeah.
That has to be your mindset from the beginning. Arm falls off, whatever happens, you're still moving through the
100%
bullets are flying, whatever. You just keep going, and you have to have that mindset. Otherwise, this entrepreneurship is not for you. Right?
Yeah.
It really isn't. You're better off just to keep your job, and move on.
Well, Jim, as an American, I want to say thank you. I appreciate what you're doing, because while I live on the other side of the country, what you're doing affects my family. And if you're listening, what he's doing affects your family. What Better in Our Backyard is doing affects your family. And these are good things. They're hard things. I'm glad that you're doing them.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you're doing, getting the word out. I think we need to do more of that, and keep it up. Really, I think we need to really educate the younger generation. Really. And that's going to be important moving forward for all of us.
For sure. Well, Jim, thank you for stepping up to the line.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.